I never expected the message that turned my life upside down to come from her. It wasn't some dramatic fight or a series of small signs I ignored. No, it was just a message, simple and seemingly harmless. But it cracked everything wide open. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Miles, and I've always been a routine guy. I love my predictability, my quiet life, and most importantly, my marriage to Gina. We've been married for 4 years now, and it's always been comfortable. Too comfortable, maybe. I know it's a little cliché, but I thought we had something solid, an understanding, a bond. I didn't believe in fairy tales, but I did believe in us. That was until she went on her trip. Gina told me she was heading out for a weekend getaway, just a few days to recharge with some friends. She'd been feeling stressed with work lately, and I wasn't about to tell her she needed a break. I told her to go, get some fresh air. I didn't think anything of it. It was just a weekend trip. That's what I told myself. On the morning she left, she kissed me goodbye, and I hugged her a little longer than usual. I don't know why. Maybe I felt that strange feeling in my gut, but I brushed it off. "You'll have fun," I said with a smile. She grinned back, but there was something about that grin. Something almost too rehearsed. I waved her off and went about my day. No big deal. The first day went by like normal. I watched TV, made some dinner, and kept busy. We'd usually text each other a couple of times throughout the day, but nothing too frequent. I didn't mind it. It was what we did. It felt normal. But then, later that evening, I received a message. It was from Gina, but there was something odd about it. She had been gone only a few hours, and I didn't expect much, but the tone of her text was off. "Hey, don't worry about me. Just got here. It's all good. I'm having a great time with the girls. Don't miss me too much." I had no reason to be suspicious, but the message felt strangely distant. It was brief, almost too brief. And why did she feel the need to tell me not to miss her? I'd never been the type to smother her, and I didn't need reassurance like that. I pushed it aside. I decided it was just her being her, playful, maybe a bit overexcited about her trip. I responded, "Enjoy yourself. Don't forget to take lots of photos." That was the first and last message she sent me that night. The next morning, I woke up to a series of messages, but they weren't from Gina. They were from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey Miles, it's Chloe, one of Gina's friends. I just wanted to let you know that she's fine, don't worry. Just a heads up that she might not be able to text much this weekend. She's been busy." I blinked. Busy? Gina had never been a stranger to texting me throughout the day. There was always a message, a photo, something. So why was Chloe telling me this? I didn't respond immediately. I was still processing it. I had never heard of Chloe before, but maybe she was just being considerate, trying to reassure me. But then, a second message from Chloe came through. "Just so you know, it's not what you're thinking. She's with friends. Everything's fine." Now, that raised a red flag. Everything's fine. Why would she need to assure me of that? I felt a pang of unease, but I did my best to shake it off. I was probably reading too much into it. I didn't want to start getting paranoid. I sent a reply to Chloe. "Thanks for letting me know. Appreciate it." Then, I tried calling Gina. I dialed her number, my heart racing a little. I didn't know why, but I just had this sense that something wasn't right. But it went straight to voicemail. Odd, I thought. Maybe she was in a meeting or something. Or maybe she just didn't want to talk at that moment. I waited a while and tried again. No answer. After the third try, I felt a slight irritation in my chest. It wasn't like her to avoid my calls. Was I being too needy? I didn't want to be that guy who suffocated her, but I also didn't want to feel like I was being pushed aside. So, I decided to send a simple text. "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're having fun. Call me when you get a chance." The hours passed slowly after that. I kept checking my phone every few minutes, expecting to hear from her. But there was nothing. No call, no text. And something in me began to shift, this odd, growing sense of being out of the loop. Like she was slipping away, not physically, but emotionally. By that evening, I was exhausted. I had been refreshing my phone, looking for any sign of life from Gina. Still nothing. I decided to go to bed early, hoping I'd hear from her the next day. Maybe she had just gotten caught up with the group. But the next morning, I woke up to something unexpected. A new message from Gina, or so I thought. It read, "I've had a great time, Miles, but I think it's time I came back." The tone of the message was so strange. Short. Final. No explanation, no follow-up. It wasn't even signed off with a love or hugs and kisses like she normally would. It was almost as if she was in a hurry. as if she couldn't get the message out fast enough. And then, just as I was trying to process this, the phone rang. It was her. I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. But when I answered, I didn't expect the words that came next. I'll explain everything when I get home, but I need you to trust me, okay? It's not what you think. At that moment, I realized this wasn't just a weekend getaway anymore. Something was happening, something I didn't understand, and I was about to find out exactly what that was. I stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity after Gina's message. My mind raced. It's not what you think, she said. But I wasn't so sure anymore. What was she hiding? What did I not know? The unease from the previous day had turned into full-blown anxiety, and I had to force myself to pick up the phone when it rang again. Gina? I said, my voice shaky. I tried to keep it steady, but I could feel my pulse racing in my neck. I know this sounds weird, but I need to talk to you. Please just listen to me when I get home, okay? Her voice sounded distant in a way that made my stomach tighten. Of course, I said, trying to stay calm. But, Gina, what's going on? Why haven't you been answering my calls? You're making me feel like there's something you're not telling me. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear her taking a deep breath, like she was trying to find the right words. Finally, she spoke, but what she said next sent a chill down my spine. Please don't freak out, okay? I'm coming back early. I'll explain everything when I'm home. But there's something you need to know before I get there. I've been with someone else. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Someone else? I couldn't process what she was saying. The world around me seemed to freeze. My throat went dry as I tried to speak, but no words came out. Was I hearing this correctly? Could it be true? I was completely blindsided. Clara, what are you talking about? I thought you were on a girl's trip. I managed to croak out. Why are you saying this now? And why are you coming back early? Her voice wavered as she replied, I don't want to go into details right now. I just need you to trust me. I never meant for things to get this far. But I need to come home. It's all a mess, and I'm sorry. The word sorry echoed in my head. Sorry didn't fix this. Sorry didn't explain what had happened. Sorry didn't make up for the betrayal. Where are you right now? I demanded, my voice cracking under the weight of my emotions. I'm on my way back, she said quickly. Please, don't do anything drastic. I need to see you, and I'll explain everything in person. Just don't go anywhere. Before I could respond, the line went dead. I stared at my phone, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I had been given a warning, but it felt like a ticking bomb, and now I was left holding the detonator. The storm was coming, but I didn't know if I was ready for the devastation it was about to bring. I paced around the apartment, the words someone else, repeating over and over in my head like a broken record. I tried to calm myself, tried to make sense of it all, but nothing fit. Was it really another guy? Had I missed something? Some sign that I had ignored? I thought we had a good thing. We laughed together, we talked about our future. So why would she do this? I opened the window, letting the cool air in. It did nothing to ease the burning in my chest, though. I felt like I was suffocating, like every breath I took was pulling me deeper into confusion. I thought I knew her, trusted her. But now, I didn't know anything. She had shattered that illusion in a few short words. And then I remembered Chloe's message from the night before. The one that had seemed so casual. She's been busy. Those words gnawed at me now, taunting me. Chloe must have known something. But why didn't she tell me more? Was she involved in all of this? Was everyone keeping secrets from me? The more I thought about it, the more the walls felt like they were closing in. Gina wasn't coming back because of some innocent misunderstanding. She was coming back because she had crossed a line, and now she wanted to clean up the mess. But there was no cleaning up what had been done. Once trust was gone, it was gone for good. I sat down on the couch, staring at my phone screen. I couldn't believe this was happening. Everything felt unreal. I had always prided myself on knowing where I stood with Gina, but now I was left wondering how much of our marriage had been a lie. I had always thought that if I were ever betrayed, I would know. But this was different. This was a silent betrayal, one that had been creeping up behind me without my knowledge. As the minutes passed, my anxiety grew. I checked my phone again, hoping for some kind of message, an explanation, anything. But there was nothing. No follow-up from Gina. No sign that she was about to tell me the full truth. Then, an hour later, my phone buzzed. I looked at it, half expecting another vague message or call from her. But it wasn't from Gina. It was a text from an unknown number. Don't go to her when she gets back. I've seen the way she's been acting, and I'm telling you now, she's been hiding something. You'll regret it if you don't listen. I read the message again. It made no sense. Who was this person? Why were they warning me? The message was clearly meant to unsettle me, and it did just that. But it didn't tell me anything concrete. Was this another one of her friends trying to get involved? Or was it someone who knew more about Gina's actions than I did? And if this person had the guts to send me this text, why didn't they just tell me the truth? I was starting to feel like I was caught in a web of lies, spinning out of control. Everything I had believed about my marriage was now called into question. What if Gina had been hiding even more from me than I realized? What if she wasn't coming back to explain, but to manipulate the situation even further? As I read the text one last time, a thought crept into my mind. Maybe I wasn't the only one who needed to be honest. Maybe it was time for me to stop waiting for answers and start demanding them. And that's when it hit me. I needed to take control of this situation before it spiraled even further. But what was I really willing to face when the truth finally came out? The air in the apartment felt thick, suffocating almost, as if the walls themselves were closing in on me. The message from that unknown number kept replaying in my mind. Don't go to her when she gets back. What did they mean by that? Who was this person? Why would they warn me like that, and why now? The whole thing felt like some twisted game, and I was the last one to realize I was the pawn. I glanced down at my phone, the screen flickering in the dim light of the room. I had to make a decision. Should I confront Gina when she returned, or should I wait and see what more came to light? The waiting was driving me mad. Every second felt like an eternity. I felt like I was teetering on the edge of a cliff, unsure if I should jump or pull back. The message from Gina still haunted me. I need you to trust me. Trust. The word echoed in my head like a mocking joke. Could I trust her? How could I after everything? She was coming back early, but what was she really coming back to? To fix things? Or to try and smooth things over with a story that would make everything okay again? I couldn't take it anymore. I picked up the phone, my fingers trembling slightly as I dialed her number once more. The call rang and rang, just like before. I cursed under my breath. It went straight to voicemail. What was she doing? Why couldn't she just answer? The frustration was building inside me, each unanswered call adding to the pressure in my chest. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Gina. I'll be there in an hour. Please, let me explain. The words were short, almost desperate, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was it. Maybe she would come clean, give me the answers I needed. But then, a part of me felt cold. What if this wasn't the truth? What if this was just her version of things? I took a deep breath. This was it. This was my chance to find out what had really been going on. I couldn't keep living in this state of confusion and doubt. I had to face whatever she was going to say, whether it was the truth or the biggest lie she had ever told me. An hour later, I was pacing in the living room, waiting for her. My mind kept racing, replaying every moment, every conversation. How did we get here? Was I that blind? Had I missed the signs? I should have known something was wrong when she started acting distant before the trip, when she had been so distracted. But I dismissed it. I didn't want to believe the worst. The sound of a car pulling up outside snapped me back to reality. My heart started pounding as I peered through the window. There she was, stepping out of a taxi, her suitcase in hand. She looked different somehow. Her face pale, her eyes tired. But there was something else there too. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. She was nervous, and for the first time, I realized that she wasn't the only one hiding something. I opened the door before she could ring the bell, and there she stood, staring at me for a long moment. The air between us was thick, filled with unspoken words. Her lips parted, but no sound came out at first. I could see the weight of everything on her shoulders, but I wasn't sure if it was guilt or something else. She opened her mouth to speak again, but I didn't let her. Why didn't you answer my calls? I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear. Why did you leave me in the dark like this? She stepped inside, her eyes avoiding mine. Miles, please, she said softly, the pleading in her voice only making me more suspicious. I'm sorry. I know I've messed up, but I need you to hear me out. I felt my blood boil at her words. Sorry. She was sorry. Sorry didn't fix the mess she had created. Sorry didn't erase the hurt. Explain it to me then, Gina. Why didn't you tell me what was going on? What was happening while you were gone? She swallowed hard and sat down on the couch, rubbing her hands together nervously. For a moment, I thought she might break down, but instead, she lifted her head and looked at me with a mixture of sadness and guilt. I wasn't planning for this to happen. I didn't want you to find out like this. I thought I could keep everything together, but I was wrong. Keep what together? I demanded, my heart pounding. What happened, Gina? What did you do? She hesitated, her eyes darting away, as if she were trying to find the right words. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I got close to someone while I was away. Someone who I thought was just a friend. But it got out of hand, Miles. It was never supposed to be more than that. I swear. My stomach churned. My mind couldn't keep up with her words. You got close to someone? I repeated, my voice thick with disbelief. Is that what you call it? Getting close? She nodded slowly, her eyes filled with regret. I didn't mean for it to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted to betray you. The truth hit me like a brick wall, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. I felt like everything I had built with her, everything I believed in, was crashing down around me. I couldn't wrap my head around it. How could she do this to me? How could she do this to us? I'm sorry, she said again, her voice trembling. But I need you to understand, it was a mistake. I made a huge mistake, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I'm here now, and I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. I stood there, frozen, the weight of her words sinking in. She was asking for forgiveness. But could I ever forgive her? Could I even look at her the same way again after what she had done? The trust was shattered, and I didn't know if I could ever piece it back together. But one thing was clear, this was just the beginning. She had told me part of the story, but what else was she hiding? And who else was involved in this mess? I couldn't just let it go, not now. I had to know everything, and I would stop at nothing to find out the truth. There was more to this story, and I wasn't going to let her walk away without telling me every last detail. The real question now was I ready to face the consequences of what I might learn? The silence in the room was deafening after Gina spoke. I felt the tension between us, thick like a wall that was impossible to tear down. I stared at her, my mind racing as I tried to make sense of what she had just admitted. She had been with someone else. She had crossed a line that I couldn't even begin to understand. And yet, there she was, sitting across from me, looking as if she thought I could just forgive her, move past this, and move on with our lives. But forgiveness wasn't something that could be given so easily. Not after everything she'd done. Not after she had betrayed me in the way she had. She was expecting me to believe it was just a mistake, some random, unplanned encounter. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. How could it be? My thoughts were spiraling, and I couldn't focus. My gaze drifted to the floor, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. You made a mistake, huh? I finally managed to say, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. And how long did this mistake last, Gina? Was it just a moment of weakness? A one-night thing? Or is there more that you haven't told me yet? She shifted in her seat, avoiding my gaze. Her silence was more telling than any words she could have said. I wasn't sure if she was afraid to tell me the truth, or if she was still trying to protect the lie she had built. It wasn't just a one-time thing, she whispered, barely audible. It was more complicated than that. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I had been prepared for the worst, but hearing her admit that it wasn't a brief lapse in judgment, that it had been something more, shattered me. My pulse quickened, and I could feel the room closing in around me. My mind was scrambling for any kind of explanation, something that would make sense of the chaos that had suddenly become my life. How long? I demanded, my voice trembling. I couldn't hold back the flood of emotions anymore. How long have you been seeing him, Gina? She hesitated for a long moment, her eyes welling up with tears. It started a few months ago. It wasn't planned, Miles. I didn't mean for it to go this far, but I got confused. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. And I let it happen. I took a step back, my legs feeling weak. A few months? That wasn't a mistake. That wasn't something that just happened. She had made a choice. Over and over again. How had I not seen this? How had I missed the signs? I thought I knew her, but clearly I didn't. Who is he, Gina? I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. Who is this person? She looked at me, her eyes filled with a mix of guilt and shame. His name is Ryan. He's a colleague of mine. We met a few months ago at a work event, and at first, it was nothing. But then, things changed. We started spending more time together. At first, I told myself it was harmless. But I was lying to myself. And to you? I felt the ground beneath me shift. Ryan. A colleague. Of course. It always started that way, didn't it? Some harmless connection that slowly turned into something more. I had trusted Gina. I had trusted her to be honest with me, and she had betrayed that trust in the worst way possible. My head was spinning. How could you do this, Gina? How could you lie to me? To us? I don't have an answer for that, she said softly, tears rolling down her cheeks. I'm so sorry, Miles. I never meant for any of this to happen. But the more I tried to ignore it, the more it consumed me. I didn't know how to get out. I wanted to scream, to rage against her. But all I could feel was a deep sense of loss. The life I thought we had was nothing but a shattered illusion. I didn't know who she was anymore, and I wasn't sure I knew who I was in this relationship. The person I had built my world around had changed into someone else, someone I didn't recognize. I turned away, unable to look at her anymore. The pain was too much. So what now, Gina? What do we do with this? Do I just pretend that everything's fine? Do we go on like nothing happened? No, Miles, she said, standing up and walking toward me. She placed a tentative hand on my shoulder, but I shrugged it off, stepping back. I don't expect you to pretend. I know I've ruined everything, and I'm not asking for your forgiveness right now. I just need you to understand that I never meant to hurt you. I never wanted this. I felt a wave of anger rise up inside me. Then why did you do it? Why did you let it get this far? I don't know, she whispered, her voice breaking. I don't know. I was confused, lost. I thought I was doing the right thing by hiding it from you, but now I see how stupid that was. I'm sorry, Miles. I truly am. Her apologies felt hollow, meaningless. They didn't fix what was broken. They didn't erase the betrayal. I couldn't just forget it. How could I? It wasn't something that could be fixed with words. It wasn't something that could be undone. I looked at her for a long moment, trying to decide what to do next. The silence stretched between us, suffocating and heavy. And then, something shifted inside me. It wasn't anger that consumed me anymore, but a deep, cold clarity. I need space, Gina, I said, my voice firm. I can't do this right now. I need to think. I need to figure out what I want. I can't be here, pretending like everything's okay when it's not. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand, Miles. I'll give you the space you need. I walked past her, not looking back. As I stepped outside into the cool air, I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. I had no idea what was next. I didn't know if we could ever fix this. I didn't know if we could ever go back to the way things were. But I knew one thing for sure. Everything had changed. The days that followed Gina's confession felt like I was walking through a fog. Every conversation, every thought, every moment felt distorted. It was as if my world had been flipped upside down, and I was left grasping for anything solid to hold on to. But the more I tried to find answers, the more questions I uncovered. There were things Gina hadn't told me, things I could feel lurking in the shadows, just out of reach. I spent the next few days going through the motions. I went to work, talked to friends, did my best to keep up with my responsibilities, but my mind was never really there. It kept circling back to Gina, to Ryan, to whatever had been happening while I was blind to the truth. I kept asking myself, why? Why did she do this? Gina kept texting me, apologizing over and over, begging me to talk to her. But each time I read her messages, I felt a deeper sense of betrayal. Her words, though apologetic, felt more like a plea for redemption than genuine remorse. She wanted to fix this, but I couldn't tell if it was because she truly cared or because she was just trying to save herself. Can we please talk? Her messages read. I'm so sorry, Miles. I never meant to hurt you. But what could we possibly talk about that hadn't already been said? There was nothing left to explain. The trust had been shattered, and the damage had been done. Then, one evening, I received a message that caught me off guard. It wasn't from Gina this time. It was from Chloe, one of Gina's friends. The same Chloe who had texted me before the trip, the one who had said, "It's not what you think." What did she know that Gina hadn't told me? The message was brief, almost cryptic, and for a moment, I thought it might be a mistake. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this was the missing piece of the puzzle I had been searching for. I think you deserve to know the truth, Chloe's message began. Gina won't tell you everything, but I will. You need to know who Ryan really is. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. Was this a trick? Was Chloe just trying to get involved, to cause more damage? Or was this the real story? I didn't know if I should trust her, but I felt the pull to know more. I couldn't keep living in this limbo, not knowing the full extent of what had happened. I quickly typed back, "What do you mean? Who is Ryan?" The response came almost immediately. "Ryan isn't just some colleague, Miles. He's been in Gina's life much longer than she's letting on. He's been pursuing her for months, and she didn't tell you because she didn't want you to find out. But I think you have a right to know what's really going on. My breath caught in my throat. This was worse than I had imagined. Months? This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a full-on affair, and Gina had been hiding it from me for far too long. I quickly sent another message, my fingers trembling as I typed. Why didn't you tell me before? Chloe didn't hesitate in her reply. I didn't know how. But seeing you suffer like this, not knowing the full story, made me realize I couldn't keep quiet any longer. Gina won't tell you the whole truth because she's scared of losing you. But you deserve to know. Her words hit me hard. I had trusted Gina, and I had trusted the people around her. But now, I realized that trust had been misplaced. There were so many things she hadn't told me, things that had been happening behind my back while I was too focused on maintaining a comfortable life. Comfortable, but not real. Not true. I asked Chloe for more details. I needed to know everything. Ryan has been a part of Gina's life for much longer than she admits. She didn't want to admit to herself, let alone to you, that she had feelings for him. But it wasn't just the physical part. He was the one who understood her, the one who listened when she felt distant from you. It was a slow burn, Miles. She started confiding in him when things weren't going well between you two, and eventually, that turned into something more. The words hit like a freight train. It wasn't just a random fling. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a deliberate choice that had been building over time. I couldn't believe it. Had she really been feeling that way? Had she really started to pull away from me to the point where someone else became her emotional anchor? It made sense in a way. Looking back, I had noticed little signs, small things that I had ignored. She had been more distant lately, more closed off. She wasn't as present as she used to be, but I never thought it would lead to this. I took a deep breath and typed back. Where do we go from here? Chloe's response was simple. You need to talk to Gina. She won't tell you everything, but maybe hearing it from you will make her finally come clean. She's afraid of losing you, but she knows she's messed up. It's up to you what you do next. I sat there, staring at the screen, the weight of Chloe's words sinking in. What was I supposed to do now? Could I even trust Gina again? Should I try to repair the damage, or should I walk away and start over? The uncertainty hung in the air, suffocating me. As I put my phone down, I realized something. I wasn't just searching for the truth anymore. I was searching for my own peace, my own clarity. The truth about Gina's betrayal had already hit me, but now I needed to figure out what I was going to do with it. Could I ever find a way back to what we had, or was everything too far gone? The decision wasn't going to be easy, but it was a decision I had to make. And it had to be made soon. The longer I waited, the more my mind spiraled into a dark place, and I wasn't sure how much longer I could stand the weight of this secret life that Gina had built behind my back. I had to confront her, and I had to decide whether I could ever forgive her. The night stretched on in silence, the weight of the situation pressing down on me like a heavy blanket. I had learned more in the past few days than I ever wanted to know about Gina and Ryan, and yet, it still didn't feel like enough. There were pieces missing, things I needed to hear from her directly. Chloe's words had shattered my perception of everything, but what I needed now was the whole truth, every last detail. I couldn't move forward without it. As I sat in the dim light of my apartment, I found myself replaying everything I knew. The texts, the phone calls, the messages from Chloe, the confessions. They were all spinning in my mind, like a tangled web of lies and confusion. I had to face Gina. I had to ask her the questions that had been burning in my chest, the questions I had been too afraid to ask until now. I reached for my phone and dialed her number. The ringing seemed to echo in the silence, and for a moment, I almost hung up. What if she tried to manipulate the conversation again? What if she tried to apologize, like she had before, and swept everything under the rug? But I knew better now. I wasn't going to let her off the hook this time. The call finally connected. Her voice came through, soft, but filled with uncertainty. Miles, you called. Is everything okay? The calmness in her voice only made my anger flare up again. How could she sound so normal? After everything? After the betrayal? After the lies? After all of it? No, I said, my voice shaking with the raw emotion I was trying to hold back. No, Gina, everything is not okay. You need to tell me the truth. I know more than you think. I know about Ryan. There was a long pause on the other end. I could almost hear her breath catch. Miles, I I didn't want you to find out like this. I swear, I never wanted to hurt you." Her words felt like empty echoes now. I couldn't believe anything she said anymore. "Then why didn't you tell me, Gina? Why did you keep lying to me? Why did you let this go on for so long?" "I didn't know how to stop it," she said quietly, almost as if she were talking to herself more than to me. "It was never supposed to get this far. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could still keep everything together. But it got out of control." Out of control. That was her excuse. That was what she had told herself. "You thought you could handle it?" I repeated, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. "You thought you could handle betraying me? You didn't think about what you were doing to our marriage? To me?" "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice cracking. "I never wanted to hurt you, Miles. I didn't know what to do anymore. Ryan was someone who listened when I felt like no one else did. I didn't want to feel this way, but I started relying on him. I started depending on him." I let her words sink in, but they didn't have the impact she thought they would. I had heard enough. I didn't need more apologies, more explanations that didn't make sense. What she had done was clear now. This wasn't just about a moment of weakness. This wasn't some accidental slip-up. It was a series of choices, decisions that had led her down a path that left me standing here, broken and alone. "You didn't think about me, Gina," I said, my voice low and controlled. "You didn't think about what this would do to us, to everything we built together." "I didn't," she whispered, her voice barely audible now. "I didn't. I was selfish, and I don't expect you to forgive me for that." I wanted to scream, to rage at her, but something inside me kept me calm. This was the moment. This was the part where everything changed. I couldn't keep letting her pull me in with her apologies and promises. I had to be strong. I had to demand the truth. "So what now?" I asked, my voice hard. "What do we do, Gina? What happens to us now?" "I don't know," she replied softly. "I don't expect you to take me back. I don't know if I deserve that. But I need you to know I'm sorry. I've been trying to fix this in my own way, but I see now that I've only made it worse." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision that loomed ahead. I wasn't sure where to go from here. Could I really forgive her? Could I ever trust her again? The thought of it made my stomach turn. But there was something else. Something I wasn't ready to face. "I need more than your apologies, Gina," I said firmly. "I need the full truth. All of it. I can't move forward if I don't have everything." She was silent for a long moment, and I could hear her breathing in the background. "I know," she said quietly. "You deserve that. You deserve to know everything." And then, she began to tell me more. She told me about the late-night phone calls, the secret meetings, the times she had made excuses to be with Ryan. She told me about how they had kissed, how they had crossed the line she never thought she would cross. She told me about the guilt that had eaten away at her, but how she still continued down that path, too scared to stop. With every word, the weight in my chest grew heavier. But at the same time, I felt something shift inside me. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was just numb. This wasn't the woman I married. This wasn't the life I had built. The trust was gone, shattered into pieces that I didn't know how to put back together. Finally, I spoke again, my voice cold and distant. "I need space, Gina. I need time to figure out what I want. I don't know if I can keep doing this." "I understand," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I'll give you the space you need. I'll leave. But please, Miles, don't give up on us just yet. I'll do anything to make it right." But I wasn't so sure anymore. Could anything really make this right? Could anything undo what had been done? I wasn't sure if I could ever trust her again. I wasn't sure if I wanted to try. I ended the call without another word. I didn't want to hear any more. I needed to be alone. The questions still lingered in my mind, but now, I wasn't just looking for answers from her. I was looking for answers from myself. Could I forgive her? Could I ever look at her the same way? Or had everything changed forever? As I sat in silence, the future seemed like an uncharted territory, one that I wasn't sure I wanted to explore anymore. The trust had been broken, and I didn't know if it could ever be repaired. The silence after the phone call was deafening, but it was exactly what I needed. A quiet space to let the weight of everything Gina had told me settle in. For the first time in days, I wasn't rushing to fill the air with questions or demands. I just sat there, in the middle of the chaos she had created, and let it all wash over me. The anger, the betrayal, the confusion, it was all there, flooding my mind in waves. I hadn't expected the flood of emotions that came with hearing Gina's confessions. She had been honest, maybe for the first time in a long time, but that didn't make it any easier. In fact, It made everything worse. The more she revealed, the deeper the hole I felt myself sinking into. She didn't just cheat. She allowed it to continue, rationalized it, kept me in the dark. She had lived a lie while I thought everything was fine. The worst part was that, through it all, I still loved her. In some twisted part of my mind, I still wanted to believe that we could fix this, that we could go back to how things were. But the more I thought about it, the more it felt impossible. Trust was a fragile thing, and it had shattered into so many pieces that I didn't know how to begin to pick them up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept tossing and turning, replaying the conversations over and over in my head. I had tried to imagine what her life had been like while I was left in the dark. Had she truly felt nothing for me while she was with Ryan? Or was I just a convenience, a security blanket until the thrill of the affair wore off? I thought about the things Gina had said. She had felt distant from me. I knew that. I could feel it. But I had never thought it would lead to this. She had turned to him, not just for comfort, but for something I couldn't give her. The realization was like a gut punch. I was staring at the clock when my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Chloe. My heart skipped a beat. Why was she still contacting me? What more could she possibly have to say? I think you should know everything, Miles. The message read. There's something Gina hasn't told you. Something you need to hear. I felt my pulse race as I quickly typed back. What is it, Chloe? What haven't I been told? She replied almost instantly. Gina wasn't the only one keeping secrets. Ryan isn't just a guy she met at work. He's been involved in some other things, things you don't know about. Things that could make everything a lot worse. My stomach dropped. What was she talking about? Why was Chloe bringing up something else now, after everything had already spiraled out of control? I typed back quickly, my fingers shaking. What things? What do you mean? The reply came almost too fast. I can't say everything, but I know enough to warn you. If you want to really understand why this happened, you need to confront Ryan. Don't trust what you've been told. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes than Gina will admit. At that moment, a chilling realization settled over me. Gina hadn't just betrayed me with Ryan. There was something deeper, something more complicated going on. It wasn't just an affair. It was something worse, something that I wasn't even prepared for. I stood up abruptly, the room spinning. I needed answers. I couldn't keep living like this, drowning in half-truths and lies. I couldn't confront Gina again without knowing the full story. I needed to speak to Ryan, the man who had wormed his way into my life, my marriage. I couldn't just sit here and let this happen anymore. The man who had taken something that wasn't his. He was going to answer to me. The next day, I found myself standing in front of Ryan's apartment, my heart pounding in my chest. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I knew I couldn't leave until I got answers. I rang the doorbell, the sound echoing down the hallway, each chime making my stomach flip. Ryan opened the door a few moments later, a look of surprise crossing his face when he saw me. He didn't even try to hide it. His eyes darted quickly to the side, as if he already knew why I was here. What do you want, Miles? He asked, his tone defensive, but still trying to appear calm. I didn't waste time with pleasantries. I want the truth, Ryan. Everything. I know what's been going on with Gina, but I need to hear it from you. Why? Why her? Why my wife? He looked at me for a long moment, his jaw tightening as he weighed his options. She told you, didn't she? He muttered, more to himself than to me. Then he sighed. Look, man, I never meant for any of this to happen, but you know as well as I do that things between you and Gina weren't what they seemed. She was distant. She was unhappy, and I was there when she needed someone. I clenched my fists at my sides. You think that makes it okay? You think it's okay to sneak behind my back, to sleep with my wife just because she was distant? Ryan didn't flinch. He didn't apologize either. It wasn't like that. She wasn't just looking for a fling. She was confused. We both were. And I didn't want to hurt you, Miles, but I was just trying to be there for her. I didn't expect it to get this out of hand. I felt a cold rage building up inside me. I had spent so many years trusting Gina, building my life around the idea that we were partners in this thing called marriage. And now, here I was, standing face to face with the man who had shattered that belief, a man who didn't even have the decency to show remorse. You've been lying to me this whole time, and now you're trying to act like this is some sad misunderstanding? I spat. You don't get to do that, Ryan. Not after everything. His face hardened, but for a brief second, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Guilt, maybe, or fear. What do you want from me, Miles? You got your answers. Gina's not the same woman you thought she was. She hasn't been for a long time. Maybe you should take a long, hard look at what's been going on in your own marriage before you come here blaming me. His words stung, and for a second, I was speechless. I had spent so long trying to piece everything together, but here was the raw truth. This wasn't just about Gina and Ryan. This was about me, too. I had been blind. I had ignored the cracks in our relationship. Maybe I had seen the signs, but I didn't want to face them. And now, it was too late. Ryan's words cut through me, and I knew he was right in a way. My marriage had been falling apart for a while, but I had been too afraid to admit it. I had been trying to hold on to something that wasn't there anymore. I took a step back, my mind racing with 100 thoughts at once. I couldn't stay in this toxic cycle anymore. I needed to make a decision, and I knew what I had to do. As I stood there in Ryan's doorway, the weight of everything came crashing down. His words, the truth, Gina's betrayal, it was all too much to process. But deep inside, I realized something that made my heart calm, even for just a moment. I was no longer a passive bystander in my own life. I wasn't going to let the mistakes of others define me. I had the power to take control of my own future. Ryan stood there, waiting for me to respond, but I was no longer interested in his excuses. I wasn't going to let anger or resentment drive my decisions. I was ready to move on, not just from him, but from everything that had been holding me back. The lies, the betrayal, the confusion, it all needed to be left behind. But I couldn't do it if I stayed trapped in this toxic web of pain and blame. I'm done with this, I said, my voice steady, not a trace of doubt in it. I'm done letting you and Gina control the narrative. You've hurt me, but I won't let that define me. I'm walking away from this, not with bitterness, but with the knowledge that I deserve more. More than lies, more than deceit. Ryan's eyes flickered with something close to guilt, but I didn't need him to feel sorry for me anymore. I didn't need closure from him. What I needed was to find myself again, to reclaim the life I had nearly lost to fear and self-doubt. As I turned and left his apartment, the weight on my chest lightened with every step I took away from him. I wasn't sure what would come next, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was walking towards something new, a future where I could rebuild, grow, and learn to trust myself again. That night, I sat down with Gina when she came home. She was waiting for me, her eyes red from crying, her hands trembling as she fidgeted with her phone. She looked at me, her face full of regret, but I wasn't going to let her tears sway me anymore. I needed to be clear. I needed to be honest with myself and with her. I've made my decision, I said, my voice firm but kind. I can't go back to what we had. I can't pretend that things are okay, that you and I are okay. But that doesn't mean I hate you. I'm not angry anymore, Gina. I just need to move forward. For me. For us. If that's even possible, in the future. She nodded slowly, wiping away her tears. I understand, Miles. I wish I could take back everything I did. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'll respect your decision. And I'll be here, no matter what, to support you. If you ever want to rebuild, to even just start over as friends, I'll be here. I smiled, not a bitter smile, but one that came from a place of acceptance. It was time to let go, time to embrace whatever came next, knowing that it was okay to start fresh. I think I need to take some time alone, I said. But I promise you this, I'm going to be okay. You'll be okay too. We both deserve to find happiness, even if it's apart. She gave me a long look, as if searching my face for a hint of regret or lingering affection. But there was none. I knew deep down, as painful as it was, that we had reached the end of our story. And while that chapter would always remain a part of me, I was ready to turn the page. The next few weeks weren't easy. There were moments of loneliness, doubt, and sadness, but there were also moments of quiet joy. I spent time rediscovering the things I loved, reconnecting with friends, and, most importantly, rebuilding my self-worth. I started to focus on the things that brought me peace, the things that made me feel whole again. One evening, as I sat on the porch of my new apartment, the sun setting in front of me, I realized something that filled me with hope. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. I was free. It wasn't the life I had planned, but it was my life, mine to shape and to mold. I had learned that happiness doesn't come from someone else's actions. It comes from within, from choosing to rise above, from choosing to move forward even when the road seems impossible. As I looked toward the future, I knew there would still be challenges. There would be moments of doubt. But for the first time in a long time, I was ready to face them, armed with the knowledge that I didn't need anyone else to validate my worth. I was enough on my own. And that, in itself, was a victory. The end of one chapter had led to the beginning of something even better, something I couldn't wait to see unfold.